Hello, everyone, and welcome back again to this Monday Power Boost. And today's topic is freeing yourself from the grip of guilt. Now, sometimes we feel heavy because of carrying something physical, or maybe even the body has too much weight, or we're carrying a heavy bag or suitcase and feel heavy. But sometimes, maybe even more often, we feel heavy because of the way we think and of what we think and how we feel based upon those thoughts and thought patterns. And one of those things that make us feel very heavy is guilt. And to free ourselves from guilt, we need to realize that mistakes are part of the journey. They are part of the story of the present time in human life. And there are different ways we can deal with mistakes. We can feel properly guilty and feel that we need or deserve punishment, or we can learn from mistakes. Mistakes just means I didn't know any better. No one creates misery purposely for themselves. So no one truly purposely makes mistake deep down. It is because there is some lack of clarity or lack of broader perspective, and definitely lack of insight into the spiritual truths. And that is why we make mistakes. So it is not very sensible and definitely not very compassionate and kind to then punish ourselves for mistakes and feel guilty about them instead of learning from them. Because then we can become wise, and that's the only true way to prevent things from going off the rails in the future. But also, it teaches us these feelings of not liking to have made mistakes truly, is because deeper inside we have a reverence of ourselves as more wise and more sensible and more noble or selfless or harmonious and more powerful. And we have lost that. Now, the feeling of guilt, if at all, may be useful for 2 seconds, just to realize that something is wrong, just to acknowledge for myself, no, this should not happen in this way, or I shouldn't be thinking in this way. Let me make a conscious effort to understand the bigger perspective. But to hold on to guilt for more than 2 seconds is absolutely useless and is undermining the self, is undermining your strength, your self-respect. It drains you, but not only that, it traps one in the past. You relive it and you relive it and you relive it, and the present goes by in the same feelings of guilt and thinking about whatever it is that we're feeling guilty about. This is absolutely useless. Now, coming into clarity, creating a sense of letting go or forgiveness, It doesn't erase the past. It doesn't erase the mistake, but it frees you from that past and helps you focus on what is there now and focus on how things could be in the future. And the spiritual knowledge teaches us that innately we are pure beings, living lights, beings of peace, beings of love, beings of harmony, beings of wisdom, beings of strength. That is our innate nature. And when we have moved away from that, that is when we get into trouble and do things that are not in line with that higher nature. And then we feel guilty. So it is just a signal. Hey, move back to that innate and that higher state. Move back to the awareness of yourself as a spiritual being, a timeless being of living light, being who is innately, originally pure and clean. And as a soul, a spiritual being, we have an eternal relationship with the Supreme God, one who is ever loving, ever wise. And God doesn't punish. God doesn't say, oh, you are like this or like that, you are wrong. No. The Supreme just shows us what is the wise way to go about things. The Supreme just makes us remember the truth and the bigger perspective, the truth of who we are as a spiritual being as opposed to a body, and that there is a dimension beyond this physical, the truth of our own higher nature. And in a relationship with the Supreme, that love, that encouragement, that wisdom is emphasized. We are exposed to that, not to punishment or criticism. So free yourself from the trap of guilt by remembering who you truly are and reconnecting, reestablishing again that relationship with the Supreme. Now, it is ego that makes us cling to guilt and ego, false identity that we hold, false ideas about ourselves that we hold, that confuses guilt with responsibility. But true responsibility creates change, gives strength to transform and do and see things differently. Responsibility doesn't create suffering or sorrow. So let's take a few minutes and reflect more deeply on ourselves as spiritual beings of living light, souls, and try and grasp that mind that is free from ego, free from ignorance. Begin to get a taste of that sense of eternity and invoke the presence of God through that silence, that clean, honest, pure heart. So as we keep the body comfortable, we remind ourselves of our existence at this invisible, subtle level. There is this body which is visible and gross, but the one who is experiencing everything, the one who creates thoughts, has feelings, the inner being, the being of consciousness, that is the real self, the soul. And just hold in the mind this image of light, like a tiny star radiating and sparkling, a living being, but in the image of light. Operating this body from the center of the forehead, behind the eyes, free, innocent, still, serene. I am not my past. We are not the mistakes made in limited awareness. Lack of understanding, lack of clarity just means one has to learn and grow. Punishment and guilt is useless. It just drains and creates more negativity and criticism and sorrow and sadness. Take the blessing from the past that it taught me many valuable lessons. And pushed me into the direction of spiritual awakening. And for a few moments, just hold this awareness of living light, pure, peaceful, timeless. Allow the heart to fly. Don't cling to heaviness. Om Shanti. And just during the day, remind yourself regularly of who you truly are and emerge those feelings of your own peaceful, higher nature regularly. 2, 3, 4 times a day, if you can, even more. A minute here, a minute there. And look to the future. Use your present thoughts and feelings and actions whilst looking forward to the future instead of clinging to whatever happened in the past. Take the wisdom, take the lessons, and move on. Be free. Of course, if you want to learn more structurally to meditate and learn more in-depth spiritual knowledge, it might be useful for you to check out the website of the Manhattan Meditation Center or the brahmakumaris.us website and see what is available in the different meditation centers across the country. Allow yourself to know more, be more peaceful and powerful inside. Learn about a bigger perspective so that you can hold this dignity and peace no matter what life situations come in front of you.